my kin beans, and welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of Discovering Game of Thrones. I apologize for the delay in getting this out to you all, but hopefully it will be worth the wait. And the episode I will be watching today is The North Remembers. And clearly they remember better than I do. But you'll probably see me leaning over here and typing things a lot, but my normal layout for getting my notes down is not really available right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to pay attention while taking down my notes as possible. So hopefully it won't be too distracting. But let's get right into it with The North Remembers. Hope you all enjoyed that. That was loud. Both yelling! Oh, God. Uh-oh. I saw that going one way, but, apparently it was gonna go another. Okay.
You can't.
Oh, boy.
You going to be bigger than the Hound, but much better looking. This one doesn't like me. Can't imagine why.
You were dead. I'm glad to know.
Tyrion.
Don't get up. Service hand in his stead while he fights.
All of you out!
Uh-oh. Methinks Cersei's a little bit miffed.
I would like to know how you are.
Yeah. They're probably not doing too well right now. Little dragon! I want it.
Having a rough time of it. Nothing's killed me yet. Last kick the sledge. You offered me a ride. Just wanted you to shut up about that blisters. You don't like people messing with his daughters. You don't like people messing with his wife.
Oh.
He marries his daughters, marries even more daughters, and on it goes.
That's foul to be honest. Where are all the wildlings gone? I could tell you. Thirsty.
Where have all the wildlings gone? Sorry.
For the night is dark and full of terrors.
You're new.
What's wrong? Don't like being called boy. Insulted.
They say 1 million rats live in the sewers of King's Landing. Shall we rally them to fight for us? I don't trust Lord Greyjoy because he is not trusted.
Mostly because he fucked other women when he grew tired of you. How many bastards does he have running?
Oh, the bastard child.
How will we know it? He's got a bull's head helmet! He made it himself! Fight.
Phew, God. Arya! Oh, this is going to end well. Ooh. I think you showed the... Sorry to reverse it. Oh, just theme music playing. Okay, I don't know if that's, like a portion of the main theme that I haven't heard before or what, but oh man. Now this episode, it definitely had some major dynamics to it, to say the least. So I am going to go ahead and break right here, and I will be back with you all in just a second for the review portion of this video. Hello all my Kinvians, and welcome back. As I said before, it is time for the review portion of this video, and whew, what a way to start off the episode, or to start off the season, should I say. Now, this is one thing I do want to say before getting into my favorites and annoyances. One thing that I did find kind of strange, which, I don't know, maybe it just kind of irks me for some reason, but I kind of didn't like that they didn't have a cold open. It just opened straight into the opening credits, which is perfectly fine, but it seems like a show like this should, at the very least, open each season with, you know, a cold open of sorts. It doesn't have to be anything big or thorough. It doesn't have to be... Heck, there doesn't even have to be dialogue. It can just, like, show some of the people, like, being very solemn or something along those lines. It just felt like it was missing something because of that. But that's beside the point, and time to get into my favorite parts of this episode. Starting with building on my feelings for this character at the end of last season, Sansa, and the fact that Sansa manipulates Joffrey. It's very subtle, at least, well, for him, clearly, but, and in a lot of ways, she's definitely not in power, to say the least here. She is the one being held prisoner in more than one way, but the fact that she is able to manipulate Joffrey, even just a little bit, now the Hound, his input definitely helps in regard to that, but her being able to manipulate Joffrey even just a little bit, I think says a lot about what may come from, or what is still to come in this season between these two characters, or however long they are forced to be together and Joffrey is still alive. But anyway, my second favorite part of this episode, Tyrion, just flat out. I mean, originally I just put, it's like, you know, it's when Tyrion appears in the episode, and then we have the interaction between Tyrion and Cersei, and Tyrion and, oh no, I'm forgetting her name, but the pretty lady that is with him. But Tyrion in general just continues to steal every scene that he's in, and especially in this episode, he just blows it away. I mean, he's by far the best character, and if a day ever comes where Tyrion Lannister dies, be it in the books and or on the show, I will be very sad. I will be incredibly sad if that happens. But yeah, Tyrion just, again, every scene he was in, he stole the show. My next favorite part of the episode was the part where Bran dreams in a direwolf's eyes, or basically from the perspective of the direwolf. And I guess I don't understand the symbolism of perhaps the dream and even them going there quite yet, but that did show the comet in the sky, which I thought that was going to be more of a thing that appeared in the future. Like, okay, he saw the comet in the dream, but it's not quite here yet. But no, apparently it's something that I guess is there and has been there for at least a little while, supposedly since the dragons appeared, maybe. But yeah, just that dream right there and that whole segment, I'm really looking forward to finding out more about the symbolism behind all that, if they dwell into it more. But yeah, just staying tuned for that. But then also another part, one of my favorite parts, is the comet itself, and just the mystery surrounding that. The fact that so many different people associate so many different things with the appearance of this comet. Some believe it to be the return of the dragons. Some believe it to be a sign of Robb's upcoming victory or the Lannisters' upcoming victory. It depends on who you ask in this world, obviously, but it's the comet in and of itself, and the fact that possibly it symbolizes the return of the dragons, which obviously we know, but the rest of Westeros, well, all of Westeros and the rest of the world doesn't necessarily know that, other than the people with Khaleesi. Or, I'm sorry, with Daenerys. Which, actually, now that, now that I realize it, I just realized, I don't believe that I wrote down any favorites having to do with Daenerys or any of her crew. And the main reason for that was, the scene that they appeared in was interesting, and it's clearly set up for what is to come in future episodes, but nothing of great, at least in my mind, nothing of great importance happened in that scene. It's like, yes, the horse, which was the gift that Drogo had given to Daenerys, dies. But that's about as close as you can get, really. Other than, again, her sending those 3 guys out to search and find out more information and all that stuff. But, yeah, just the scene in of itself, it didn't really warrant a favorite part for me, because it was just kind of there. But, moving on to my next favorite part of the episode, it has to do with, and this is another one of those simple ones, but it's the boys of the Watch bickering. Just there fighting back and forth, primarily with Sam, and I guess when he sat on one of their carts or sled, whatever it was, he broke it. Which, he's been there a while. How has Sam not lost any weight? I mean, maybe he just eats a lot. I have no idea, and it's not like he's a ranger running around and all that stuff. But still, you'd think the guy would have gotten a little bit smaller, at least in my mind. But again, just them bickering, it cracked me up. I really liked that aspect. My next favorite part had everything to do with this mysterious character. I don't think they actually said her name, so I'm guessing on the pronunciation, but Melisandre. That whole burning of the gods, the 7 gods, I think, but burning them, and King Stannis, or who wants to be King Stannis, pulling the sword of fire out of one of the things, whatever. It's just the whole situation around that was really intriguing, and I'm very much intrigued by this character, Melisandre. One, for obvious reasons, she's beautiful, and 2, just there's a lot about her that I'm really curious about, and I want to find more information about. Like, when that one guy drank the wine that was poisoned, he died, clearly. And then when she drank of it, she didn't. So, again, is she immune to poisons, or is it that she is a mystic or a witch, and she has some sort of magical abilities that keep her from being poisoned? I don't know, something along those lines. I'm just kind of pulling it out of my bum there. That was weird. But yeah, just really looking forward to finding out more about her, and interested to see how this whole thing with King Stannis goes as things move forward in the story. And my next favorite part of this episode was the fact that we find out that Littlefinger made his own sigil. And he made it himself. He didn't exactly... It's like the Starks have the dire wolves and the Lannisters have the lion, and so on and so forth. But Littlefinger made his own sigil, which is the mockingbird. And that actually did give me a little bit of, just because I've seen the movies and read the books, but the Mockingjay from Hunger Games, completely unassociated with this story, but it came to mind. But I do find that interesting that he made his own sigil and what that could mean going forward as far as his potential influence. Because, I mean, between him and Varys, they tend to be the smartest people in the room, even when they are clearly outnumbered. Like when Littlefinger and Cersei have that little discussion, and she almost has his throat cut. It's like, even though, I mean, he easily could have been killed at that point, at the same time, I feel like he and Varys continue to be the smartest people in the room wherever they go. They have more of an idea of what is going on at all times. Now, how much of that might be destroyed based on what Joffrey might or might not do, it's hard to say. But yeah, just Littlefinger, I still don't like him necessarily because of what he did, but interested to see how his story transpires. And then my next favorite part of the episode was just plain and simple. I was going to touch on the different aspects of Robb and his meetings with, like, Jaime, and when he was talking with his mother Cat and everything, but it really just, it all revolves around Robb and when he makes his terms for peace and has that delivered to King's Landing. Just something about all that, just, it works so well. There's just something very powerful about Robb at this point. I'm really starting to like him as a character. I didn't dislike him before, but as the previous season ended and starting up into this season, I am really looking forward to see what comes of him. It's like I see him becoming a huge figure in this show up until the point he potentially dies, which who knows. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that anyway. My next favorite part, and you might as well call it my most favorite part of the episode, but when Cersei slaps Joffrey. Now, clearly Cersei has reason to be afraid because of what he says afterward, and yes, he's the king, blah blah. Oh, but there's something just so wonderful about that slap. It's something that hasn't quite occurred in quite a while, but will continue to live on in my dreams and my hopes that maybe he'll get slapped to death. Maybe that'll be the way he dies. Maybe he will get slapped to death and someone will have like a, I don't know, some poison barb on their hand. It's like, and it's like, oh no, what's wrong with me? Mummy, I'm dying. And then he'll die. Maybe that's the way it'll go. I don't know. But just any part where someone gets the upper hand of Joffrey, even if it's just for that split second where he gets slapped, I cannot wait to see more of it. Who knows, maybe Tyrion will slap him again. Or maybe not. It's hard to say. Tyrion's a little bit too smart for that. But, okay, moving on from there. My next favorite part was actually, well, this leads up to my final favorite part, but seeing that Raz has seemingly taken up a position within the, do they call them whorehouses or whatever it is, but basically she seems to be in a rather high position at that point. She seems to be like she's sort of training the new recruits, I guess you might say. It almost seems like she has taken over for Littlefinger in his absence at the time. So I find that really interesting, and I'm looking forward to see if more of her story might transpire. Now, admittedly, we haven't really seen a lot of it. It's just kind of been like, you know, here's a little bit, here's a little bit, here's a little bit. But I'm curious whether or not she might become more of a, not a central part of the story, but more involved in the overall story. I'm interested to find out. And then finally, and this is one of those that it pains me to call my favorite part, but it was unexpected and it had a big impact on me at the end of the episode, and that's when Joffrey, possibly, has the bastards hunted down and killed. All of them. including the one that we actually see, which is the baby. And, oh, and then we end with that final shot of Gendry. Yeah, Gendry and Arya on the wagon heading off, and just, oh, the tension in that moment of whether, like, what's going to happen when the soldiers catch up to them. Will there be a big battle? Will he just get killed? Who knows? But yeah, just that the way they ended that episode was just perfect, in my opinion. Now, moving on from there real quick, I do have a few annoyances. Obviously the way in which I define my annoyances changes from time to time, because overall this is a great show, and within some, with some exceptions, there really aren't that many, if any, flaws in the show that I've seen so far. But as far as actual annoyances with this episode goes, one, Craster. That disgusting, old, incestuous... bleh. I mean, I thought the other guy was bad. That with just, the super young daughter. And I mean, okay, that was bad. That was bad enough, but this Craster guy, just everything about him makes my skin crawl. It really does, and I hope something bad happens to him. Probably won't. I mean, he's apparently well protected. His roots are firm in the ground. I don't remember what he actually said, but probably nothing will come of him. But there's something just wrong with him. Well, there's a lot of things wrong with him. Then my second annoyance is Joffrey, and that's simply because he continues to breathe. He will probably continue to be an annoyance of every episode as we go along until he dies. So if that gets annoying, I apologize, but I really don't like him. I really don't like him at all. I want to strangle the little fart. So, yeah. So those are my annoyances. Now, as always, if you have any of your own favorite parts that you would like to mention, or even some, I guess more legitimate annoyances with the episode that you would like to voice, let me know what they are in the comments down below. Oh, and actually playing off of the final favorite part, I do have a question for this episode, and it's just because it wasn't entirely clear to me, and maybe it's something that's explained in the books, but is it Joffrey or Cersei that gives the order to have all of Robert's bastard children hunted down and slain? The reason I mentioned Joffrey earlier is because it seems like it's something Joffrey did, but at the same time, maybe it's something that Cersei did to appease her son, or to prove that, or make him see that, like, she's really on his side. I don't know, but is it Joffrey or Cersei that gives that order? I mean, maybe they'll mention it in the next episode, I don't know. But if it mentions it in the book at all, I would definitely like to know. Okay, so moving on from there, as for my track of the episode, this episode definitely had some great music throughout. The show in general does, but I feel like that final build-up where we see Gendry and Arya, it's like that final build-up of music and the end credits music. It's just like those two tracks are they are the best parts of this episode, in my opinion, music-wise, track-wise. So yeah, those are definitely them for me. And going back to actually the question I asked at the end credits, is that just the portion of the actual theme of the show and I just haven't heard the whole thing, or what? I'm curious. I haven't looked up the official soundtrack for the show yet because I've been warned that it might contain, some spoilers, so I'm avoiding that. But if there's any, indication or any info on that, I'd definitely appreciate it if you're able to voice it. Now, moving on from there, as for my quotes of the episode, I feel like I might have been a bit of a letdown on this one because I did skip doing any of Tyrion's just because, as I mentioned before, Tyrion in this episode just stole the show. I could have used any, if not all, of his lines and have them be the quote of the episode. So I kind of reached for some different ones here. The first of which comes from Jeor Mormont, and yes, I'm saying Jeor, not Jorah, Jeor Mormont, and that is after the meeting with Craster, he confronts Jon and he says, "You want to lead one day? Then learn to follow." I might have misquoted that slightly, but that's essentially the quote. And that one stuck out to me mostly because of the fact that that's something that many people need to learn in general. It's like it's very... it's clear why it was used in this portion of the story. It's clear why, it's focused on Jon at this point. But that is a lesson that many people should learn when they're wanting to be like a leader, or they're wanting to be over people in general. It's like, if you want to lead, you have to know how to follow. You have to learn how to follow, because if you just are constantly leading, there are people that get there. It's like they know nothing but leading. But I feel like in the end, they are the leaders that don't last as long. They are the leaders that are not as effective. Kind of like, Joffrey. But anyway, there was that first quote. The second one comes from Kat, and it was just a simple, sort of just a throw aside line, but there's a king in every corner now. And I feel the reason why that one stuck out so much to me is because I feel like that's going to be a big source of conflict in this show. It's like, even though there are alliances, there are people who are allied on one side against the other, when it comes to just who's going to own what, or who is truly the ruler over what area, there's going to be a lot of fighting, and then there's going to be a lot of infighting. And so I'm curious to see how far they're going to take that in the show and in the books once I get around to those. But yeah, there's a king in every corner now, and how many of them are going to prove to be dangerous? We'll have to wait and see. Now, as for a theory for the episode, I don't have one that's sort of like, a greater scheme of things just yet. But I do have a theory as for what might happen between this episode and the next one, or possibly partway into the next episode. And the theory is that one of Craster's wives will flirt with either Jon Snow, Sam, or one of their friends, and then something really bad is going to come of that. Now, that's just a theory. It's probably completely baseless, but I feel like something bad is going to happen because of that Craster guy. Like he's going to do something, or he might even accuse someone of doing something, even if they haven't. Hopefully I'll be proven wrong, and that'll just be like, a plot line set aside completely, but I'll just have to wait and see. But that is my theory. I'll have to wait and see if anything comes of it. Now, as for my WTF of the episode, although we don't actually see it, thank God, on screen, it's the murdering of the bastard children. The first one is like the little baby gets sliced to death, and then we go on to, I assume it's one of the bastard children, but that one kid, like with his head being held underwater, that by itself was like just so painful to watch. Because yes, it's acting, but at the same time, just knowing that this kid is, while it's acting, having his head held underwater like that, he can't actually breathe. So I don't know. Oh, that was just truly screwed up and messed up to me, and that's going to be like the least of my concerns as far as the rest of the show goes, I'm sure. But still, in the context of this episode, that was just, whew, way out there. Now, as for my overall thoughts on the episode, it was, as I said before, it was a very dynamic episode. The beginning and the middle portion, it's like it was fairly slow, and I say that in that it's clear that they were doing some more story building. They were building up stories that were to come, especially with Daenerys and her people. There wasn't a lot happening. But then it started to build up, and it's like things started to get more and more tense, and then until finally we get right there at the end with the killing of the children and that last shot of I'm forgetting his name, Arya and Gendry, on the cart heading out, and just like that music as it builds and builds, and it just leaves you wanting more. It will leave you wanting to watch the next episode, as I know it does me. So yeah, overall, thumbs up for this episode. I mean, I was gonna say it was good regardless, because again, I recognize when an episode is dedicated more to the story and building up of things and all that, but that ending took me by surprise by far. So there you go. Overall, a really good episode, a strong start to the second season, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the next episode, which is the Nightlands. And I'm guessing the Nightlands, maybe that'll have more to do with more of the stuff up north. I don't know. But, I mean, the title of this episode was The North Remembers, and that wasn't even a line, that was spoken. I think. I might have missed it, but I don't know. So, I don't know exactly what the Nightlands is, obviously, but I'm looking forward to finding out what's going to happen in the next episode. And as I said before, if you have any other comments you would like to leave, be they some of your favorites, some of your annoyances with the episode, or even some of your commentary on, just the other things I had to say here, please do leave them in the comments down below. I look forward to reading them. Even if I'm not able to answer them, or I just forget to, I do promise that I go through and I read everyone's comments to the best of my ability. So, yeah, that's that, and I will see you all next time for the reaction and review for The Nightlands. And until next time on Discovering Game of Thrones, everyone, I am Papa Ken, and I will see you in the next video.